how do people do this? Like, make videos and have a full-time job and have a family. Like, I'm exhausted. But anyway, I promised that I would do retaliation. So here we are. For those of you who've asked, there's the dog. His name is Frank. He is a terrorist and also the love of my life. Dog people understand. He will probably snore through this whole thing. Retaliation. Okay, so as a lot of people have said, this really does seem to be the centerpiece of Blake Lively's complaint. She doesn't start chronologically in her complaint with the sexual harassment allegation. She starts chronologically with the retaliation allegation. So it really does seem like this is the biggest deal for her. And I understand why, because she's got these documents that seemingly show this PR campaign that I'm sure she believes genuinely is the reason why her reputation has taken a hit. So retaliation is one of those pieces of discrimination that sort of sneaks up on you. Retaliation is much easier to prove than discrimination itself. And a lot of times it gets added onto discrimination claims, like I was discriminated against, and then when I brought it up, they retaliated against me and made the whole thing worse. And that's sort of what she's doing. So the elements for retaliation, there's 3 elements. It's much easier than a sexual harassment or any kind of discrimination claim. You have to prove that you engaged in protected activity. That means that you complained about some kind of discrimination to people who were supposed to do something about it. Number 2, that something adverse happened to you in your employment. You were demoted, you were fired, you had a hostile environment. In her case, her reputation took a hit. And then 3, you have to show that there was a causal connection between number 1 and number 2. That's it. That's all you have to allege. So how do you show the causal connection? Well, one way you can do it is what's called temporal proximity, which means they just happened close in time, right? I complained about discrimination and 3 weeks later I got demoted, so one can presume that those 2 things are related. And I think she's done a very good job in her complaint, or her lawyers have done a very good job of setting up her retaliation claim to say, I complained about sexual harassment. We had to have these meetings to agree when we went back to set after the strikes to put things together. They didn't like that. And so after the movie came out, they decided that they were going to tank my reputation. And her proof of that, of course, is all these emails and text messages that they somehow got the old PR firm to send to them, which is a whole nother story. So number 1, I think she's done a good job of alleging retaliation. Number 2, retaliation is notoriously easier to plead and easier to prove. But there's a whole lot of gray area in the connection, right? It's her burden, because it's her claim, to show the connection between the 2 things. And as I alluded to in an earlier video, she also has to show that their retaliatory acts are what caused her damages, which I think she has some evidence of, but I don't think has perfect evidence of. Here's what I think people need to know that they probably don't. You can lose on your discrimination claim and still win on your retaliation claim. So you can complain and say, I was discriminated against, I was sexually harassed. And somebody can find, a court can find, an agency can find, no, we don't think that you met the elements to that. But if you also claim, well, I at least complained about it and then I was retaliated against just for the complaining, you can still win that case. So she does not have to prove her sexual harassment claim to prevail on retaliation. The other thing is, what she does have to do if she wants to win on retaliation is that she show that she complained and that she specifically complained about sexual harassment. You can't just say, oh, I complained and said it's cold in here, or, oh, I complained and said, I don't like Justin's pants. Can you hear the dog snoring? It has to be that you complained about sexual harassment. You don't necessarily have to use those words, but she had to have been specific enough that that they knew that's what she was talking about. And based on what we've seen in her complaint, that could be the case. She claims that she brought this up. And she claims they did nothing about it. And that could be a real problem for them. But all in all, what I think the important takeaway is that she can lose on the sexual harassment claim and still win on the retaliation. And the retaliation really does seem to be the thing that she is focusing on, which makes all the sense in the world to me. Because that's the thing that's really caused problems for her, is, in her mind, and maybe we'll find out it's true, this PR campaign. So that's retaliation. If you have any questions about it, drop them in the comments. And if I don't pass out, I will try to answer them for you.